How you doing, YouTube? It is I, another bearded gamer, back again once again with a new video for the channel. Today we are going to try and find something out. Can you beat Pokemon Platinum with only a Surskit? Our last challenge video, Pokemon Platinum with only a Torkoal, was quite an interesting run. That was fairly easy to start, but me pulling my hair out by the end. So I decided to try a run where we'll probably pulling my hair out for most of the early game instead. Surskit is a pretty bad Pokemon compared to Torkoal. It has very low defensive stats and a barely usable special attack stat. However, it has got a better speed stat than Torkoal, so there may be opportunities where we are able to outspeed our opponents and take them down before they deal us any damage. Another issue with Surskit is that it only naturally learns 3 damaging moves, 2 of them being stat water moves. On a positive note, however, it does learn some potentially very useful TMs that, depending on when I can get them, will help us throughout the run. I can assure you that I am clueless as whether or not this can be done. I am writing this script prior to going through with the challenge, so even I won't know if I succeed. So let me know in the comments below if you think I can beat this challenge. I personally think early to mid game will be a challenge, especially Gardenia's and Wake's gyms, and I think I may have to be quite over leveled to make it to the Elite 4, let alone beat the champion. Before we start, I just want to do another massive shout out to my Dry Breads challenge videos and guide videos on how to record and do a challenge run. Without them, I probably wouldn't be attempting this. Now onto the rules. In battle, I can only use Surskit. I'll be using other Pokemon to use HMs, but they will not be used in battle. No glitches or exploits may be used to make the game easier. No items can be used in battles. Only Pokeballs, held items, and items outside of battle are allowed. Also, if you do enjoy the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Now, let's get this started. Right off the bat, I used a universal Pokemon randomizer to replace Chimchar with Surskit, so we have it as our starter. I replaced Chimchar so that our rival would pick Piplup, as I believe that Empoleon will be the most difficult for us to fight, because it is the only starter that resists our only stab throughout the entire game. We end up losing the very first fight we had in this game due to Surskit only knowing Bubble, and because of how weak Bubble is as a move. We stood no chance at all. I hope this isn't a common trend throughout the rest of the game. We named our Surskit Estri. For those in the know, you're in the know. So now let's have a look at our Surskit's nature. It has the modest nature, which is probably one of the best natures it could have. It gives us a minus in our physical attack and a plus in our special attack, which is exactly where we want it. With a plus in our special attack, we'll be doing as much damage as we possibly can throughout the entire run. Our first actual challenge in the run was one of the trainers in the trainer school. Her Bidoof starts with a growl while we start with Bubble. Another Bubble hits, doing similar damage to last time. She hits us with a tackle that does 6 damage. We take each other down to yellow with our respective moves. It takes 2 more hits to take her to red, while 1 high roll takes us to 5. Her next tackle misses, she then heals herself and then takes us out. We really need to grind already. This is going to be quite an interesting run. I decided to try and train on the other trainer and some other wild Pokemon before we attempted that Bidoof again. We try again at level 8. We start with a Bubble while she uses Growl. Another Bubble takes us to yellow while a tackle deals 6 damage to us. Another Bubble takes her down to quarter health while tackle does 6 more damage. One more Bubble takes her down. I am starting to worry about going against our rival if we are struggling against Bidoofs at this early point in the game. I decided at this point to attempt to take on our rival. Starly went down to 3 Bubbles. Our third gladly crit, while Starly just dropped her attack stat with Growl. Next in was Piplup. Our quick attack does some okay damage considering it was -3 at this point, but long story short, I am not a high enough level to be able to take down Barry or his Piplup. While I was able to take his Piplup down to half health, I need more damage output in order to take out Piplup. Time for attempt number 2. Now we are level 10. I hope we are able to find this fight a little easier. This time we start with a quick attack while Starly uses a Growl. We then use Bubble, which does some decent damage while Starly uses another Growl. Starly then uses quick attack, dealing 6 points of damage before going down to Bubble. Now for Piplup. Yet another Bubble is doing very little damage, but for some reason the Gen 4 AI is focusing more on dropping our attack stack than actually dealing damage. I eventually go down after taking Piplup down to red. I think I can do this, I just need to get a little lucky with crits. 2 more attempts later and we nearly get Piplup down. Starly goes for no damage, which is useful as it means that Piplup will guaranteed go for 4 turns of no damage as well. We get a lucky crit which takes Piplup down a sizable amount of health. Unfortunately, its second pound crits us in return. Piplup then ends up living on 1 HP before we faint. We got so close on this attempt. I knew that we definitely could beat Barry at this level. Our next attempt is when we finally succeed. We use Bubble twice and one quick attack to take Starly down and remain at full health. Yet again, we only have -2 in attack, so we know the AI should focus on dropping our attack rather than doing damage. Piplup starts with damage before focusing on dropping our attack for 2 turns. It then uses its next turns to do damage as we keep whittling it away. Suddenly, we get a very lucky crit that takes Piplup down from yellow down to red. Piplup then uses Growl. One more bubble takes Piplup down to 1 HP once again, while a pound leaves us with 6 HP. Finally, one more bubble takes out the Piplup. We finally are able to get our win over our rival. Time for the first gym. I decided to try and be at the same level as the Geodude, as I don't want to be too over leveled. Geodude goes down to 1 bubble, we level up, then Onix comes in. Bubble takes Onix down to red and a critical rock throw takes us out. Attempt 2. Geodude goes down with ease. This time Onix doesn't crit us but takes us down to 11 HP. Cranidos is up next and takes us down with a pursuit. Surskit's low defense is making this a lot harder than I thought it would be. I try again at level 13. Geodude causes no issue while Onix lives again on red. Before using Screech, dropping our defense by 2 stages. He heals up Onix but another bubble takes it down with ease. We level up, then Cranidos comes in again. Bubble does about a third damage and then takes us down with a headbutt. We need to try and get to a run where Onix doesn't use Screech. After 6 more attempts after our previous one and 1 more level, we actually beat the gym. Geodude went down with ease and Onix hits us with a rock throw dealing 20 damage. 1 more bubble takes the Onix out. Cranidos is outsped and is dealt a critical bubble, ensuring that 1 more will take it out. We need to pray that we live our next hit. A pursuit takes us down to 2 HP. With that, 1 more bubble takes Cranidos down and we now have our first gym badge. Now for the fight against Mars. By the time we get to her, we are level 18 and she starts with a Zubat. Our bubble looks like a full hit KO while Zubat starts with a Toxic, an annoying move when you only have 1 Pokemon. Another bubble takes Zubat down to half. This time Zubat hits its Toxic. By the time we eventually take the Zubat out, we are down to only 14 HP. Purugly comes in next and takes us down with a Fake Out. I am worried that we might have to learn a better damaging move in order to take down Purugly, but I want to try beating Mars with just bubble before I grind all the way to level 25. I try again at level 20, hoping that we will be able to deal enough damage to take down Purugly. We will get very lucky against Zubat, being able to not only dodge a Toxic, but also being able to take it down with only 3 bubbles due to a critical hit. We were in against Purugly with 41 HP, the most we have ever had at this point. Purugly's Fake Out took us down to 22 HP, flinching us. Next turn, her Scratch took us down to 6 HP. A bubble did nothing in return. 1 more Scratch took us down. There is no way in hell we are taking Purugly down without Bubble Beam. Time for our first attempt with Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam just ochres the Zubat. Now time to face the Purugly. She starts with Fake Out doing 16 points of damage, taking us to 45 HP. And flinching us. Her Scratch then crits us, taking us down to 12 HP, while our Bubble Beam takes her down far enough to where she has to eat her Oran Berry. We quick attack praying for a crit, which we don't get before going down to a feint attack. We can do this if we get lucky. Attempt number 2 goes much better. Zubat goes down with such ease, then it's time for the Purugly. Fake Out does the same amount of damage as last time, while Scratch takes us down to 29 HP before we heal with our own Oran Berry. Bubble Beam hits a higher roll than last time, so after her own Oran Berry heals, she still remains in yellow. 1 more Scratch does 15 points of damage, while Bubble Beam takes down the Purugly. We finally beat Mars. Now for the next possible roadblock on this run, the Grass-type gym. Now for our first attempt against the Grass-type gym at level 29. She starts with a Turtwig. We use Reflect, which does some nice damage considering how low our attack stat is. Turtwig goes for a Reflect, which boosts her team's defense by 2 stages for 5 turns. I then use Bubble Beam, which did even more damage in return did. Turtwig goes for a Razor Leaf, doing 25 points of damage. 1 more Bubble Beam takes Turtwig down to 1 HP. A Razor Leaf then does 34 points of damage. These damage rolls are scary. Gardenia then heals up as I go for Quick Attack. A Bubble Beam then takes Turtwig down to yellow as 1 more Razor Leaf takes us out. We need to grind as we didn't even make it to our second Pokemon. We try again at level 31. This time, Return nearly takes Turtwig down to yellow. Turtwig sets up a Reflect again. A follow-up Bubble Beam takes Turtwig down to a quarter health. Turtwig then uses Sunny Day, which will cut Bubble Beam's damage in half. No way are we going to win this battle now. Just going to cut this short, but very shortly after this, Turtwig takes us down as we just cannot do enough damage. At level 34, we finally make it to Gardenia's last Pokemon. At this level, Bubble Beam is a 2-hit KO on Turtwig, meaning we are able to take it out without taking any damage due to it using Reflect. Cherrim is out next. We use a Bubble Beam, which is a 3-hit KO. Cherrim responds with a Magical Leaf. Another Bubble Beam takes Cherrim down to about a quarter HP, as it uses a Safeguard in return. Gardenia then heals up the full as another Bubble Beam takes Cherrim down to just above 50% HP. I then use Return, hoping it would do more damage than Bubble Beam as the Reflect had worn off. Cherrim punishes me for this mistake with a critical Magical Leaf. One more Bubble Beam takes Cherrim out. Time for Roserade, Gardenia's last Pokemon. One Magical Leaf just takes us out in one hit. I think we can beat her at this level, we just need to attempt it a few more times. 45 minutes later, we finally get a successful run. Bubble Beam yet again 2-hit KOs Turtwig due to its setting up a Reflect. We avoid taking any damage. Cherrim comes in and loses about 20% HP due to a return before using a Safeguard, which ensures that we cannot crit Gardenia's team. We then use Bubble Beam, which takes Cherrim down to yellow. Cherrim then misses a Leech Seed before we hit it with another Bubble Beam, which leaves it on 1 HP. Cherrim responds with a Magical Leaf, which takes us down to 64 HP. Gardenia then heals up to nearly full as we use Return to deal some damage. A Bubble Beam takes Cherrim down to red, and we somehow dodge another Leech Seed. One more Bubble Beam takes the Cherrim down. Finally, time to face Roserade. We start with a return that looks like a 3-hit KO depending on rolls. Roserade uses Stun Spore, which paralyzes us. Our Cherry Berry cures us. Another return makes Roserade eat its Citrus Berry, putting us on below half health. It then uses Stun Spore again, making us paralyzed. Roserade now outspeeds us and hits us with a Magical Leaf, taking us down to 40 HP, while a return takes us down to a sliver of health. I follow up with a quick attack and we now successfully have earned our second gym badge, at a lower level than I thought we would be at, I would like to add. Now for a surprisingly easy fight against Jupiter. She starts with a Zubat that goes down to a critical Bubble Beam. In comes her Stun Tank. I start with a return which does some decent damage considering our low attack stack. Stun Tank goes for a Smoke Screen, dropping our accuracy by 1 stage. I follow up with a Bubble Beam which takes Stun Tank down to red, before it consumes its Citrus Berry, taking it back to half. Stun Tank then misses a Poison Gas before going down to another Bubble Beam, winning us the fight. The fact that we did this on our first try was very impressive in my opinion. Now we get spooky with the Ghost type gym. Our first attempt is at level 36, which isn't too over leveled at this point. She starts with her Duskull, which goes down to about a quarter health after 1 Bubble Beam. Duskull then burns us with a Will-O-Wisp. It then hits us with a Shadow Sneak before going down to another Bubble Beam. We level up, try to learn 2 useless moves before she sends in her Haunter. We go for a Bubble Beam, which takes it down to barely any health. It retaliates with a Shadow Claw, which does some decent damage. Fantina then heals up the Haunter before we take it down to 1 HP. Another Bubble Beam takes down the Haunter. In comes Miss Magius. Miss Magius then outspeeds us and takes us down with a Magical Leaf. We might need to grind or just grab the Shell Bell, depends on our luck. By the time we grab the Shell Bell and get back to Fantina, we are level 38. I wasn't as lucky this time getting past their Gym Trainers. On this attempt, we took our Duskull down to red health as it hit us with a Shadow Sneak. Duskull gets fully healed as we use another Bubble Beam. We then take it down to the same amount of health it had prior to it getting healed. Another Bubble Beam takes it down, and due to Shell Bell recovery, we are nearly back at full health. Haunter then eats a Bubble Beam, living on a sliver of health, then confuses us with a Confuse Ray. Fantina heals up Haunter nearly to full before we hit ourselves in Confusion. We then hit ourselves in Confusion again as Haunter misses a Hypnosis. Finally, we snap out of Confusion before we take Haunter down to 1 HP. Honestly, how many times has this happened in this run? Haunter hits its Hypnosis, putting us to sleep. We sleep our next turn away as Haunter hits us with a Shadow Claw, which did some decent damage. We lose another turn due to sleep, and Haunter hits us with another Shadow Claw, taking us to 19 HP. We finally woke up on our next turn, and we take down the Haunter. Miss Magius comes in, losing nearly half its health due to a Bubble Beam. We then go down to a Shadow Ball. I think we can beat Miss Magius at this level, we just need to not fall asleep. Attempt number 2 went so much better. Bubble Beam took Duskull down to red before it hit us with a critical pursuit. Fantina then heals Duskull up to full. We then took Duskull down to yellow before taking it out on our next turn. Haunter then goes down to red health due to a bubble beam, as it then hits us with a confuse ray. Haunter gets healed nearly to full before we break through confusion and take down Haunter with our next bubble beam. Due to Shell Bell, we went in against Miss Magius with full health. Our bubble beam did similar damage as it did last time, as Shadow Ball took us down to 53 HP. Another bubble beam took Miss Magius down to red before it healed up to yellow due to its citrus berry. Then another Shadow Ball took us down to 23 HP. On our next turn, we took down Miss Magius, giving us our third gym badge with a lot less issues than our previous one. After what feels like ages, we finally have our next rival battle. We are able to take Staravia down with a single bubble beam, which was pretty impressive. Primplup comes in next. We go for a bubble beam, which looks like a 4 to 5 hit KO depending on rolls. It uses Peck, which does some decent damage in return. We follow up with a return, which looked like a similar damage rolls to bubble beam. Another Peck nearly takes us down to half. Another return nearly takes Primplup down to red, as Peck takes us down to about a quarter HP. We go for a bubble beam, hoping to take Primplup down, but it lives on 1 HP. It then nearly takes us down with another Peck. Finally, the Primplup goes down on the following turn. We then level up. Roselia comes out and takes us down with a Mega Drain. We definitely can achieve this at this level, we just need to be a bit smarter against the Primplup. Round 2. Staravia goes down in one hit yet again. Primplup goes down with 4 bubble beams, leaving us on 32 HP by the time we face Roselia. Bubble beam nearly takes Roselia down to half HP as it goes for a stun spore, paralysing us. Roselia then mega drains us, dealing 13 points of damage before going down to about a quarter HP with another bubble beam. Another mega drain takes us down to 14 HP before Roselia goes down to another bubble beam. Outlast is Ponyta, which misses a tackle as we get paralysed so nothing happens this turn. Next turn, Ponyta hits its tackle, taking us down to 6 HP before going down to a bubble beam. This fight went relatively well. I honestly expected more from Barry at this point in the game. Time for the fight for our 4th gym badge against Maylene and her fighting types. She sends in a level 28 Meditite against our level 40 Surskit. She hits us with a fake out, flinching us. Our next turn we take her down to a sliver with a bubble beam, before she hits us with a rock tomb, taking us down to 24 HP. A quick attack finishes her off. Next in is her Machoke. Our bubble beam does decent damage, taking her to yellow, before a rock tomb takes us out. We may have to grind to be able to defeat her, I'm not sure yet. It took 2 levels of grinding to finally beat Maylene. Meditite goes down to 1 HP with a bubble beam, misses its rock tomb and then is finished off with a quick attack. That is what I call lucky. Macho takes the same amount of damage as last time from bubble beam, before missing its rock tomb, going down to another bubble beam. Our luck for this attempt is through the roof. Finally, we are face to face with her Lucario. She hits us with a Force Palm, doing 29 points of damage, before taking decent damage from a Bubble Beam. Another Force Palm takes us down to 44 HP, as another Bubble Beam takes Lucario down to red health. We are able to live the next Force Palm, and we're able to easily take down the Lucario. We finally have our 4th gym badge. Now for the rival fight outside the 5th gym. His Staravia starts, going down to red health after 1 hit. It retaliates with a wing attack, doing 80 points of damage. A quick attack fails to finish Staravia off, as its quick attack finishes off instead. Let's try that again. In attempt 2, we were able to successfully take down the Staravia and make it to Barry's second Pokemon, Primplup. Unfortunately, Primplup just bodies us with a critical peck, with another peck easily taking us out. I need to grind or change strategies because I know I won't be able to take Barry down with just brute force at this point. Finally, at level 46 and having learnt Toxic, we are able to beat Barry. We take Staravia down to 1 HP as it uses a double team. Another bubble beam takes it down. Primplup is in next. We hit it with a Toxic as it uses Peck, taking us down to 76 HP. Toxic, for those who don't know, is a residual damaging move whose damage doubles on each turn that the Pokemon remains out. We then chip away at the Primplup using Bubble Beam and Toxic to eventually take it down with only 35 HP left. Holding a Citrus Berry was the only reason we survived against the Primplup at this level. Very impressive in my opinion. Next in was Ponyta, which goes down to 1 Bubble Beam. Roselia is outlast and goes down to a critical return. Just wow, that was an impressive ending to a very difficult rival fight. Gym number 5. This gym was very difficult in our last run, and unfortunately it wasn't a lot easier in this run either. Our first attempt just ends before it can even start. I wasn't overly surprised that at level 47 and with our current moveset we are just not bulky enough or strong enough to take down Gyarados. To show how difficult this gym is, I grinded up to level 55 and still was not able to take down Gyarados. I got very close on this particular attempt, forcing Quake to actually heal his Gyarados, but even then I was not able to take Gyarados down before it took me down. Time to reassess my situation and see if I can learn anything that might help. Due to some research, I realised that I could grind out money on Route 212 with a Versus Seeker and an Amulet coin. I did this so that I could buy the Ice Beam TM from the Vilestone Game Corner, as Ice Beam would do neutral damage to Gyarados, which would definitely help take it down. Our first attempt with Ice Beam goes well. We actually make it a Floatzel. We start off with a Toxic against Gyarados as it goes for a bite, dealing 33 points of damage. Another Ice Beam takes Gyarados down to yellow health, as another bite takes us down to 70 HP. One more Ice Beam takes Gyarados down. Finally, we get to fight Quake's other Pokemon. In comes his Quagsire. We take it down to yellow after a Bubble Beam. Quagsire then uses a Rock Tomb that takes us down to 37 HP, dropping our speed. Another Bubble Beam finally takes it down. We are face to face with his Floatzel. It takes us down with a single crunch. We are going to have to massively grind in order to take down Floatzel. Or are we? I taught Surskit double team between my last attempt and my winning one. We'd start with a double team which causes Gyarados to miss its first bite. I follow up with a Toxic because I know the chip will help. Gyarados is able to hit us with its bite, dealing 33 points of damage. I set up another double team as Gyarados takes us to half with another bite. Another double team is used and finally Gyarados misses another bite. I set up another double team as Gyarados somehow hits us yet again, taking us down to 34 HP. I honestly don't see how Gyarados is able to hit us this many times with 4 double teams up. I use a double team for the 5th time and finally Gyarados misses its waterfall. Toxic has been doing its job while we've been setting up because it has managed to take Gyarados down to red health. Due to Quake being forced to heal up on this turn, I set up our last double team, meaning we now have +6 in evasion, making it very difficult to hit us. Now it's time to take down Quake's team. Toxic is taking Gyarados down to about a third HP by the time we use Ice Beam. We take Gyarados down to a sliver of its health as it misses its bite and goes down to its poison. Quag comes out next and goes to red health after one Ice Beam. It then misses its Rock Tomb. Quake heals up the Quag. Ice Beam then takes Quag down to just above red and then gets frozen. A Bubble Beam finishes off the Quag. Now to face off against a Floatzel. We go for Bubble Beam, which does some sizable damage for a resisted hit. Floatzel then misses its crunch. Another Bubble Beam takes it down to 1 HP before it heals with its Citrus Berry. Another crunch misses before we take it down with another Bubble Beam. After an hour and a half of trying, we succeeded in taking down the 5th gym. Just wow, this fight was more challenging than the grass type gym, which is actually something we are weak to. Now to defeat Cyrus, but honestly his first fight wasn't really required to be covered in much depth. Our high level means he was very easy to take down. Time for our next fight with our rival, and let's say having Giga Drain makes this fight so much easier than it should be. Staraptor goes down to 1 Ice Beam. Next in is his Heracross, which takes just over half from a Bubble Beam. It uses an Aerial Ace, which takes me down to 64 points of health. Another Bubble Beam finishes off the Heracross. In comes his Empoleon. Up to this point, the biggest challenge when fighting our rival. We start with a Giga Drain, which takes it down to about a third HP and heals up a decent amount. Then responds with an Aerial Ace, which takes us down to 57 HP. Another Giga Drain deals similar damage to the first, while another Aerial Ace takes us down to 25. One more Giga Drain finishes off the Empoleon. Rapidash is in next, and it goes down to 1 Bubble Beam. Finally, out comes his Roserade, which goes down to 1 Ice Beam. Surskit's move pool is really helping us out at this point into the run. Now to fight against the Steel-type gym user Byron. We start our attempts at level 63. We take his Magneton down to red, while its Thunderbolt takes us down to 38 HP. Byron heals at this point as another Bubble Beam takes it down to red again. Another Bubble Beam finishes it off. In comes Bastiodon. Bubble Beam nearly takes it down before it takes us out with a single Stone Edge. We can do this gym at this level, we just need better luck against Bastiodon. Finally, on our 4th attempt, I was able to get the perfect mix of luck and strategy. Magneton went for a useless Metal Sound rather than a Thunderbolt, meaning we were able to take it down with no damage taken. Bastiodon came out next, and at this point I knew I needed to damage him enough where if he went for a Metal Burst he wouldn't take me down. We start with a Giga Drain, expecting him to use Metal Burst, which he does, dealing 49 points of damage. Our follow-up Bubble Beam is strong enough to finish off Bastiodon. His last Pokemon Steelix goes down to 1 Bubble Beam. We now successfully have our 6th gym badge, without too many issues. For those who don't know, Metal Burst deals damage based on the amount of damage the user has just taken times 1.5. So if the user takes 100 points of damage, Metal Burst then deals 150 damage in return. It is a great move for a Pokemon like Bastiodon, as it has awful offensive stats but great defensive ones. Our fights against Saturn and Mars weren't exactly overly challenging at this point in the game, due to the level difference between Surskit and their Pokemon. Therefore I won't spend any time actually explaining what happened in their battles. Just trust me, they were not very difficult to take down. Now for our fight against Candace, the Ice-type gym leader. She starts with a level 40 Sneasel as we send in Surskit, which is now level 35. We start with Bubble Beam that takes Sneasel down to red, while its Air Release doesn't even do half. Candace teals up, while our next Bubble Beam takes Sneasel to yellow. Another Bubble Beam finishes Sneasel off. Next in was Piloswine. I stupidly go for Giga Drain, wanting to heal up, thinking it would take Piloswine out. Instead, we only take it to yellow as it goes for and misses a Stone Edge. That could have ended our attempt there if it hit. A Bubble Beam finishes off the Piloswine. We level up as a Bomber Snow comes in. We go for an Ice Beam which takes a Bomber Snow just below half health. It then uses an Avalanche which takes us down to 60 HP. Another Ice Beam finishes it off. Last in was Frostlass, which goes down to one Shadow Ball. Honestly, Surskit's move pool carried us through this fight. Cyrus 2 was not too much of a challenge. We were able to take all the damage he dealt to us, and we were either able to OHKO or 2-hit KO all three of his Pokemon. The issue with Cyrus's current team is that they're either fast but not overly strong, or strong but really slow. The second and last fight with Saturn was another issue entirely. He starts with a Golbat which goes down to one Ice Beam, then in comes Bronzor, which takes a Bubble Beam and then confuses us with Confuse Ray. We break through confusion and take Bronzor out. Next in was his Toxicroak. We hurt ourselves in confusion as Toxicroak hits us with a Poison Jab, which poisons us, leaving us with only 32 HP. We are able to break through another confusion before going down to an X-Scissor. We can beat him at this level, we just need a little better luck. Attempt 2 goes a lot better. Golbat goes down to one Ice Beam yet again. This time Bronzor does not get a chance to use a move on us as it goes down to a critical Bubble Beam. Now we get to face Toxicroak without a dent. Bubble Beam puts Toxicroak in yellow this time. Then he heals with his Citrus Berry, putting him back into green. He then goes for a Poison Jab which is able to take out just over half of our health. Another Bubble Beam finishes off the Toxicroak. With Saturn finished, we can move on to the double fight with Mars and Jupiter. Our first attempt at the Galactic Admin's double fight shows the massive issue we have having Barry as our partner. He's just not very bright and does not go for any good moves. The admins start with Bronzor each, while Barry starts with his Munchlax. I hit one Bronzor with a Bubble Beam, taking it down to yellow. One Bronzor then goes for Reflect, doubling his team's physical defense, while the other one confuses the Munchlax. Munchlax then misses its move. Another Bubble Beam finishes off the first Bronzor. The other one then goes for a Light Screen, cutting all damage Surskit will do in half. Munchlax then stockpiles, boosting its own defences. In comes Juniper's Stun Tank. A Bubble Beam barely misses out on taking it down to yellow. A Poison Jab on us then takes us to just above half health before it poisons us, basically dooming this attempt. Bronzor then confuses us as Munchlax hits itself in confusion. We then hit Stun Tank with a Bubble Beam, forcing it to eat its Citrus Berry, before it takes us down with a Poison Jab. We need some better luck if we want to beat this double battle. Attempt 2 follows Attempt 1 for our damage roll on Bubble Beam against one of the Bronzors. However, this time, one sets up a Reflect while the other one sets up a Light Screen. I now need to stall out the Light Screen so that I have a chance in this battle. Munchlax goes for a Screech, which is useless for us due to us being a special attack to her. I decide that using my weakest move on the non-damaged Bronzor will be a good way of chipping it down until Light Screen wears off. I know that if any Pokemon switches in while Light Screen is still up, I'll probably go fail again. One Bronzor uses Rock Slide, doing okay damage on both Surskit and Munchlax, while the other one confuses Munchlax. Munchlax just hits itself in confusion. I attack the weaker of the two Bronzors, as they both then attack the Munchlax, doing some decent damage between the two of them. Munch then goes and hits itself in confusion again. I Giga Drain the weaker Bronzor, nearly taking it out, as one Bronzor goes for a Rock Slide, and the other uses Extrasensory on Munchlax, nearly taking it out. Munch then knocks itself out. In comes Barry's Rapidash. I Bubble Beam the healthier Bronzor, hoping that Rapidash will knock out the other Bronzor, which it does with Fire Blast. Bronzor then goes for a Rock Slide, missing us, but hitting Rapidash for very little damage for a super effective attack. Light Screen and Reflect finally wear off. Mars sends in her Golbat, which I then focus down with an Ice Beam, OHKOing it. Rapidash then misses its Fire Blast as Bronzor hits us with a Rock Slide. In comes Mars' Perugly. We hit it with a Bubble Beam, taking it to half as it hits us with an Aerial Ace, which does a sizable chunk of damage. A Fire Blast then takes out the Bronzor. Out comes Juniper's Golbat. We finish off Perugly with a Bubble Beam as Rapidash burns the Golbat with a Will-O-Wisp. An Air Cutter from Golbat does decent damage to both of us, especially as it crit the Rapidash. A Ice Beam from us next turn takes out the Golbat. In comes Stun Tank. A Bubble Beam from us causes it to heal itself with its Citrus Berry, as a Fire Blast from Rapidash takes Stun Tank down to red. A Poison Jab knocks out the Rapidash. Staraptor comes in to replace it. One Bubble Beam finishes off the stun tank. With that, we have successfully taken down the last two of Cyrus's admins. Time for attempt 1 against Cyrus at level 69. We take down his Houndoom with one Bubble Beam. His Honchkrow goes down to one Ice Beam. His Crobat is able to hit us with a Cross Poison, which takes us down to 94 HP, before it also goes down to an Ice Beam. In comes his Gyarados. Ice Beam looks like a free hit KO. His Waterfall then takes us down to 72 HP. Our next Ice Beam then takes Gyarados down to about a quarter health and freezes the Gyarados. Such luck, exactly what we needed. It goes down to another Ice Beam as Weavile comes in and knocks us out with a single Night Slash. We are not going to beat Cyrus unless we make it to his Weavile with no damage on us. Finally, at level 85, we're able to get the run we need, even though we weren't able to outspeed the Weavile. Houndoom, Honchkrow, and Crobat all go down without causing us any issues or dealing any damage to us. Gyarados is now a 2-hit KO with Ice Beam. Its Waterfall does 44 points of damage to us in return. Another Ice Beam finishes it off. Now for Weavile. It uses Fake Out, which takes us down to 134 HP. We go for Bubble Beam, which forces it to eat its Citrus Berry. It then goes for a Night Slash, which does about 50 points of damage before going down to a Bubble Beam. We have now finished off Cyrus and can focus on taking down the last gym leader and the Elite Four. We faced the 8th gym at level 86, expecting a difficult but fair fight. I was wrong. His Jolteon paralyzes us as we fail to take it out with a single Bubble Beam. Volkner then heals the Jolteon up as we hit another Bubble Beam. A Charge Beam does 74 points of damage to us as we then take out his first Pokemon. In comes his Raichu. It obviously outspeeds us, dealing some hefty damage with a Charge Beam. A Bubble Beam nearly takes it out. His next Charge Beam misses as we get paralyzed. One more Charge Beam takes us to Red as we knock it out with another Bubble Beam. In comes Luxray, which takes us down with a Crunch. We may be able to get to his last Pokemon at this level, but I'm not sure if we can take it out, considering we didn't even take out a Raichu with a Bubble Beam. Attempt number 2 confirms my suspicions, as this time we have a Cherry Berry to cure the paralysis, as we then take out the Jolteon. The Raichu then gets critted by a Bubble Beam, so it wasn't able to do any damage to us. Luxray survives a Bubble Beam, but misses a Thunder Fang before going down to another Bubble Beam. Last in is Electrifier. We hit it with a Bubble Beam, which takes it down to about a quarter HP before its Citrus Berry heals up some of the damage. It then goes for a Thunder Punch, which takes us down to 30 HP and paralyzing us, before it takes us down with a Quick Attack. We are not going to win this fight at this low level. I need to grind. Finally, at level 95, we get the luck we need to win. Rinse repeat with the Jolteon from our last few attempts. Raichu gets O-Code this time, which makes our lives a little bit easier. Luxray also gets O-Code by a Bubble Beam. We finally are able to make it to Electrify without any damage being taken. Our Bubble Beam takes it to 1 HP before it heals with its Citrus Berry. A Thunder Punch then does devastating damage, taking us down to 63 HP. Luckily, we are out of range for Quick Attack killing us, therefore we win the badge with another Bubble Beam. After many hours and attempts, we finally have our last gym badge and are able to take on the last few fights of the game. Time for our last fight with Barry. His Staraptor goes down to 1 Ice Beam. He then sends in a Rapidash, which goes down to 1 Bubble Beam. Out next is his Heracross, which lives on red HP after a Bubble Beam and goes for a Night Slash, taking us to 174 HP. One more Bubble Beam finishes it off. Empoleon is out next, and a critical Giga Drain takes it down to red HP. A critical Aerial Ace then takes us down to 92 HP. Damn, a crit for a crit. Another Giga Drain finishes it off. In comes his latest Pokemon, a Snorlax. This thing is bulky as hell on the special side. A Bubble Beam barely misses from taking it out down to half, as a Body Slam takes us down to 47 HP and paralyzing us. Our drop in speed means we go down to another Body Slam before we can attempt to do it to him. We can do this battle at this level, we just need to not get paralyzed. Attempt 2 starts the same as the previous one. Staraptor goes down to 1 Ice Beam and Rapidash goes down to 1 Bubble Beam. Heracross this time goes for a Rock Slide, nearly taking out half our HP, while a Bubble Beam and a Shadow Ball take it down. In comes his Empoleon. This time Giga Drain does less than half damage, healing us up to 175, and Aerial Ace takes us down to 111 HP. Another Giga Drain takes Empoleon down to red as it goes for a Shadow Claw, taking us back down to 113 HP. One more Giga Drain takes out the Napoleon. Now for the Snorlax. We go for a Giga Drain to get some more health so we can more easily live its body slams. It does 85 damage with a body slam, leaving us with only 79 HP. I risked going for a Bubble Beam, not bothering figuring out the damage rolls, as another body slam takes us down to 9 HP. One more Bubble Beam finishes it off. Roserade comes in last and goes down to 1 Ice Beam, and with that we have only 5 fights until the game is over. Now for our fight against the first Elite Four member, Aaron, and his bug types. He starts with a Yanmega, which goes down to a single Ice Beam. Vespiquen faces a similar fate. Drapion comes out next. It lives a Bubble Beam on red before Citrus, then going for a Aerial Ace, dealing 72 points of damage before going down to another Bubble Beam. Heracross comes out next. It also lives a Bubble Beam before missing a Stone Edge. That was lucky. Aaron heals Heracross up and 2 more Bubble Beams take it out. Last out was Aaron's Sizzle. That goes down to 1 Bubble Beam. And with that we have beaten our first member of the Elite Four. Time for the demon from the previous run, Bertha. Bertha this time was an utter sweep. Her Wishcast goes down to a singular Giga Drain. Gliscor comes out before going down to an Ice Beam. Golem, Rhyperior, and Hippowdon all go down to a Bubble Beam each. Considering the amount of issues Bertha caused me last time, it was enjoyable taking her down very easily this time. Now for Flint, the fire user. He was as much of a sweep as last time. Each one of his Pokemon went down to a single Bubble Beam. Imagine being one of the strongest trainers in your region and all of your Pokemon being taken down by a Surskit. Now that is what I would call embarrassing. Now for Lucian, the Psychic type user. He starts with a Mr. Mime, which goes down to a Shadow Ball. Gallade comes in next and is able to live its first Shadow Ball. Hits us with a critical Leaf Blade, which nearly takes us out. It then goes down to another Shadow Ball. In comes Espeon. It goes down to a singular Shadow Ball. Bronzong comes on in. It lives a Shadow Ball in yellow before going for a Calm Mind rather than doing damage. Weird choice. It goes down to a Bubble Beam. Last out was his Alakazam, which goes down to his Shadow Ball. Yet another easy battle, all because we have type coverage this time. I am worried about Cynthia though, because we may have super effective moves against her and most of her Pokemon, but they all are quite bulky. Now for the champion fight against Cynthia. Her Spiritomb starts. A Bubble Beam takes it down to yellow, while a Shadow Ball does more than 80 points of damage. Another Bubble Beam finishes it off. Togekiss comes in next and is able to live an Ice Beam on red health, before hitting us with an Air Slash that takes us down to 33 HP. Cynthia then heals up Togekiss before 2 more Ice Beams take it down. Now to face her Lucario, which just takes us down with an extreme speed. We then attempt to beat Cynthia at level 99 3 more times, and each time, no matter how hard we try or what we attempt, we are taken down before we even make it to our 4th Pokemon. I was hitting my head at a wall at this point, knowing that I would have to be at level 100 in order to beat this challenge. I didn't want to have to be level 100, but needs must, especially when you cannot beat your run unless you get to that level. Our first attempt at level 100 goes interestingly, as I thought with the power boost of Choice Specs we would be able to win the fight. We crit the Spiritomb, taking it down. Togekiss goes down to 2 Bubble Beams. It leaves us with 79 HP for when we face the Lucario. Lucario hits an extreme speed, taking us down to 12 HP before we OHKO it. Finally, we come face to face with her Garchomp, which easily lives a +1 Bubble Beam, before it takes us down with an Earthquake. I don't think that Choice Specs is the way forward, but I have one more ace up my sleeve that I didn't want to have to do. But when you're between a rock and a hard place, you do what you have to win. Second attempt at level 100, this time with our ace in play, Double Team. I feel gross for relying on this strat, but already knowing that the video will be out late, I've got to do what I've got to do to get this video out. On Spiritomb, we use a Double Team as it hits its Shadow Ball. We go for another Double Team as it hits another Shadow Ball. Damn, this Spiritomb must have good glasses to be able to hit us twice in a row after 2 evasion boosts. I go for another Double Team as it is able to hit me yet again. At this point, I am spitting feathers. How is it still hitting me with so many boosts up? I am forced to heal with a Giga Drain due to how low my health is now. We get a critical hit, so we are able to heal more than what I expected that I would. It then hits another Shadow Ball, dealing even more damage than what I just healed up. Knowing that Cynthia would heal Spiritomb up though, due to how much health it had, I then went for another Double Team. I then went for a Giga Drain to recover some health. Spiritomb then hits us with another Dark Pulse. Like, how is it hitting all these moves? Gladly 2 more Giga Drains are able to take it down without us taking any more damage. Next in is Togekiss, which I take to a sliver with 1 Ice Beam as it misses its Air Slash. 1 more Ice Beam takes it out. In comes Lucario, which takes a Bubble Beam to go to yellow before missing a Stone Edge. 1 more Bubble Beam finishes it off. Garchomp comes in next and goes down to 1 Ice Beam. it doesn't even get to go for a move. Milotic comes in next and goes down to half with 1 Giga Drain, and then is able to hit us with a Dragon Pulse, dealing 56 points of damage. 1 more Giga Drain takes out the Milotic. Outlast is Cynthia's Roserade, which goes down to a singular Ice Beam. And with that, we have successfully beaten Pokemon Platinum with a singular Surskit. Quite honestly, this run had more points throughout that were a lot more difficult than our Torkoal run. I was honestly surprised at how many times we were required to have to grind throughout the challenge. The use of held items really carried us through certain points within this run. By having the right berry at the right time, we were able to beat certain fights at lower levels than what I would have expected to be able to do. Double Team also was a massive help. Anyway guys, just a heads up that there might not be a challenge video next week, or if there is, it'll be a very easy one as I do not have a lot of time to record and prepare a script, so I will see what I can do. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, please do not hesitate to like, comment and subscribe, and do not hesitate to recommend a Pokemon or a game for a challenge run, as I will always be open for suggestions. Anyway guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.